Hey guys, welcome back to Marvin Essentials. So in the last tutorial, we talked about the different types of data, which we call data types, right? So we talked about the string data type, which is always surrounded by quotes, right? Then we talked about an integer, which is positive or negative, all numbers, right? Then we talked about floats, no float here. 34.5, it's a float because it contains a comma or a decimal point. Then we have true or false, which is what? Which are called Boolean data types. So these are the four basic. It's not, they are not all of them, but for now, let's just deal with these four basic data types, right? So now let's explain why we need these data types, right? Let's take, for example, you have your cattle and your chicken, right? So you cannot create a same shelter or the same habitat for those cattle, for both cattle and chickens, right? You got to separate them by creating a crow and a chicken run, right? So that's the same thing in programming. You cannot store strings in the same location where you would have stored integers. That is the reason why we need data types, so that we assign each and every location a certain type of data which that location will be holding. Then we assign another for a certain type of data. So we are not here to learn about animals, right? We are here to learn about programming. So now let's link this example to Python, right? So or programming in general, because it applies to any programming language. So in this case, the animals are the data. We got cattle data and chicken data. Then the chicken run and the crow are containers of data. So what do we mean? In Python or programming, we got data and containers of data, right? They are two different things. Data is contained in containers, right? So what are these containers? These containers are what we call variables, right? A variable is just a storage location that contains different types of data. So we've got string variables that stores strings. We've got numeric variables that stores either integers or floats or doubles. Every container or variable will have a specific data type of the data which it will be storing. So how do we use variables? How do we declare variables? Or how do we include variables in our Python program? It's simple. Just write the name of the variable, right? Let's say you want to store data which is people's names, like students' names at a university or at a primary secondary school. So what do you want to store? I want to store students names, right? So that's what you write something descriptive of the type of data, or the kind of data, not the type of data, the kind of data which you will be storing in that variable. In this case, I want to store the names of students, so I just write students. Then I use this equal sign. It's not an equal sign. You shall meet an equal sign in later tutorials. This is called an assignment operator, right? Or an assignment sign, right? It assigns certain data to a variable, right? So in this case, it will be assigning Malvin, which is the name of student, Munashe, which is the name of student, Tawanda, which is the name of student, right? All these will be assigned to the variable name to a storage location. You can never take a crow to kettle. You just take kettle to crow, right? So in this case, you are assigning Marvin, Munashe, and Tawanda to the variable students. This is the kind of data which we want to store in the students variable, right? So these students thing, this name of the variable is called an identifier. Then this data are called literals, right? That's the difference between literal and identifier. Identifier is the name that is given to the variable, and the data which is assigned to the variable are called literals. So we've got string literals, we've got boolean literals, we've got integer literals, float literals, and many literals which you shall meet in later tutorials, right? But you cannot name variables in whatever way you want. there are rules which govern how we articulate or create our identifiers, the names of our variables, right? So when you are naming a variable, you cannot start with a number like two students because you just want to store Marvin and Munashi. You can't, right? You can't start with a number. Let's see what will happen. Uh, Munashi, like this, right? Actually, it's underlining with a red line. If you can see syntax error, we haven't ran yet, but it's a syntax error. We cannot start our variable name or identifier with a number, right? And also we have what we call reserved words. These are words which are recognized, like the word print. It's recognized by Python that if you write print and something with then between the parentheses, it's supposed to output something to the screen. So you cannot use that as a variable. These are what we call reserved words. We got other reserved words like for, like reverse, like sort. They cannot be used as variables. I'm going to put a list of all the variables, of all the reserved words, sorry, in the description below, right? So you cannot say print is equal to Marvin and Munashi. If you run this, actually it will give you a what? It won't run. It didn't produce anything. Okay, let's just say print. Print. Let's see what will happen. You see, it can't because string object is not callable. It's an error. Otherwise, if we would have said, let's say, student, which is a valid valid identifier, and if we run student like this, it's supposed to print Marvin and Munashi. You are asking yourself, how does that happen? Okay, I'll explain that in the next tutorial, right? For now, guys, let's continue in the next tutorial as we explain more on these variable thing more into Python. Thank you for watching.